point of view, and I think it speaks for many of the people.
Let's have some order. Martin, would you please? Chief Brody.
I just want to tell you what we're planning so far.
What about the beaches, Chief?
We're going to put on the extra summer deputies as soon as possible. And then we're going to try and use shark spotters on the beach.
Are you going to close the beaches?
Yes, we are.
It was April, it was wet, it was cold, and nothing's happening in April on the island. So that everybody who got in as an extra thought it was great fun. My mother and I came together, and awful lot of waiting around that takes place during this, you know. But there were some really remarkable moments. Robert Shaw was just fabulous to watch. He never did a scene twice the same way. It was always a little different. And I think one of the funniest moments was in June, much later, late June. They flew a shark, because we didn't have many sharks. They flew a shark up from Florida. And it was very hot. And they hung the shark on a pier. And the scene required a man to come, and he's so angry that he's lost a relative that he punches the shark. And we're all standing around him, and as he punches the shark, we fall back kind of in dismay. This was a scene in which we were all absolutely Macbeth. I mean, you know, we were the finest actors in the world, because the smell when his fist hit that shark blew us away. We all practically fainted. It was so funny. There were some really great moments, and there was the genius of Steve could easily be seen, how adjustable he was to suggestions, how he immediately saw something and then did it. They worked very, very hard. They were only supposed to be there a couple of months, and they were there all for the summer, which caused havoc with the hotels who were putting them up. The people who were the extras, most of them had never seen the inside of a making of a film, so that it was really a marvelous experience for us, even with all the waiting around that took place. And the cast were lovely. Roy Scheider was very pleasant, and the guy who played the mayor was very pleasant. And I don't know, it seems to me that having Menemsha, which is where I live, be used a lot was great fun. Watching Lynn Murphy and his son manipulate the waters, and the way it was done was just so artistic. And I don't know if anybody ever realized, you know, to what extent this excellent crew maneuvered to make every wish that Steve had come as close to true as possible, but it was great. And I think that probably the opening to Jaws is still the most chilling opening of any movie I've ever seen.
Well, how did you initially become? Did you go to a casting call of some sort? Or?
I think there was an announcement in the Gazette that they were going to be taking some extras. They needed some extras. And I'm sure the idea was my mother's, because she was that kind of a gal. She has now long been deceased, but there's a very big picture of her in the scene of her in the selectmen's meeting. That's where we were most active. We were in other shots too, but they didn't stay with them. They shot much more than they needed. But the Islanders themselves were very, very pleased, and we were all dismayed to hear that stuff had been stolen. I suppose that can't be helped if it's left on the beach, which it was. But I think the island really gained from it, and I think we were very unhappy to hear Steve say he'd never make a film on Martha's Vineyard again, which he did say somewhere.
So you were primarily in the town hall scene? Is that
We were in the town hall scene, and we were in the scene on the pier, and we formed a sideline of the scene in which Lee Ferrara slaps Roy Scheider and his glasses go flying. So we were in that scene. And There were a couple of other just joint scenes. We didn't have a part. None of us, well, even though we spoke words. It was a general roar of the public kind of thing. We were not extras that were paid. I think we made $25 a day, plus a marvelous lunch, something like that, $18 a day. We thought it was great.
So you can see yourself in those scenes, or?
Well, I can see myself in one scene, and funny thing is, my next door neighbor in Arizona, where I lived for half the year, said to me, "They're doing Jaws tonight." I said, keep your eyes open on a scene in the courthouse, because my mother and I are both in that scene, and we never saw it, we couldn't find it. I'm sure it was there, but we either were talking or eating or drinking or who knows what. But
It's a freeze frame or something.
yeah. So it was certainly a successful film from every point of view. I never saw Jaws 2, so I don't know anything about that. And I think that was made someplace else.
Partially here, partially in Florida, as I understand it.
Is that right? Was it partially here? Well, as an innkeeper, which is what I really am, or was in those days, I was only free up until the time my inn opened. Then I was an innkeeper.
Do you want to say something about the slapping scene? Was there something, like multiple takes of that or something like that?
Well, the number of times that scene was rehearsed gave Roy a very red face. I mean, his glasses were most cooperative. They kept flying off his face. And I think it was something about how angry she was, really so angry. She's a good actress. In fact, she's probably the only professional that I was aware of that we had on the island. We had another gal also, but Lee was I thought, really wonderful in it. It was a good, I really did. Lots of fun, and I was glad that we participated in it.
Did you meet Robert Shaw at all, or talk to him? You were there for the blackboard scratching speech and all that, right? When he does his whole introductory speech.
Who?
Robert Shaw?
Oh, yes.
You were there?
Yeah. I think one of the most interesting speeches was his agreement to go after the shark in the town hall, because he's got a straw in his mouth. I remember that? And that straw is, he's sitting right behind me. And the straw is moving around. We're all looking around at him. Everybody's looking at him. And he just plays his part so beautifully. You are breathless watching him do it. It was one of the scenes that we did the fewest takes on.
Yeah, it's a great loss that he passed away so young.
Oh, yeah. It really is, because he's a great actor. And we hated to hear that he had died.
Any questions from you? I mean, this might seem like a stupid question, but did Jaws change your life in any way?
No, it's not a stupid question, and no, it didn't change my life in any way, but it educated me as to what it's like to make a film, so that I looked at movies differently. Maybe that's the change that it made, because, you think of these actors who just waltz into these parts, and we were shooting in rain, and it was very cold in parts of April, and there's a lot of discomfort that goes along with that, and a lot of rehearsal. And another thing that was very interesting is that they took the original script that was written and really threw it away over huge parts of this. So that when they finished at night, the next thing they were doing is rewriting for the next day. And then they start the next day, and when the speeches came to, this is how Stephen works, when the participants who were going to be active that day, the actors and actresses, many times I would hear Stephen say, that doesn't really sound like something you'd say, or the way you'd say it. And the actor would say, well, it isn't. I would say da-da-da-da-da. And Steve will say, let's use da-da-da-da-da. Because it makes it more real. So he brought out the truth of the part, if you know what I mean. I thought he did that very well.
What a remarkable career, huh?
Oh, just going on to one more fascinating thing after another. He's a tremendous talent. I think the actors and actresses were really kind of pleased to be on the island. The island is so lovely in the summertime. And they went way, way over budget, and there was an awful lot of fighting back and forth from what's his name? The producer.
Xanacan Brown?
Yeah. And as far as Steve was concerned, it didn't matter. he needed equipment, he needed the equipment now. And they needed a lot of it. They needed an awful lot of equipment just to handle the shark part, to make that look real. That was really very difficult to do. And I can't tell you as much about that as some of the other people. I think that maybe Lynn Murphy could.
Did you actually see the shark?
I saw sharks. I don't think I saw the right one. No, I never
Not
saw
the
that.
mechanical shark.
I saw the mechanical shark.
Oh, you saw it.
In the water? Or
No, outside of the water.
What was your first impression?
No one's going to believe this. But by the time I only saw it briefly. And after that, I didn't see it at all. But when I saw the movie, I was absolutely astounded. What a
Well,
great...
The producers went to great lengths to keep the secrecy
Oh, yes.
of the shark.
Oh, yes.
They were afraid people would get photographs and everyone would know it was fake. They wanted to create the impression.
I wasn't even allowed to see it, really. I was immediately off.
Okay, so it was just
Yeah.
by chance.
It was just by chance. And I didn't really see the whole thing very clearly. It didn't seem, possible. But it was such a great idea to do it that way, because there really was no way to do this. I can imagine otherwise.
Right. Today would be a different story. Back
Yeah.
then.
Oh, yeah. Today certainly would be a different story.
Did you take any pictures at all of the time? Any photos or films or anything?
No, I didn't. I just didn't. And neither did my mother. The pictures were all my husband's. Did the pictures for our family. But I think I imagined there were so many people taking pictures. Now, you know who will have 1,000,000 pictures to show you is Edie. She's a professional photographer, and they'll be very good as well. You can't beat hers.
We talked to a girl named Carol Feiner.
Fligor, yeah.
Fligor?
She owns Fligor's market, and she used to, and I think she sold it now in Edgartown.
She said she has home movies, which are dying to see.
Oh, great.
The shooting of the film.
Great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Well, that's all I had to ask you.
I don't think you have much more that I can give you. I'm a very minor character in your
Oh,
cast.
you've been great.
No more funny stories?
No more funny stories I can think of anyway.
There's just one curiosity. Do you happen to know who drew the shark on the blackboard in the town hall scene?
When he scratches it,
That's
he
when
scratches right through
he
it.
scratches the blackboard, and that's how Quint is introduced.
I should know. This is not Roy. Roy didn't do that, did he? No. Who?
Well, I think you're supposed to be led to believe that Shaw.
Yeah, in the story
Did
it's
it.
supposed to be him who drew it, but I mean
Who
in
knows?
actuality, who was
No,
the
I have no
drew-
idea.
You have no idea.
But again, I came in for such a small piece of this. Very likely Edie will know, and if she doesn't, certainly Lee will know.
Mm.
So you're going to meet all these people. You'll find out.
So could you describe how you looked at the time, so we know how to notice you? in the
What
scene?
you're wearing.
Okay. I was. See, how did I look? I was thinner than I am now, needless to say. And instead of having white hair, I have brown hair. If you see an elderly woman with gray hair looking very shocked, I'm right next to her.
I know her. I can picture her.
I'm really right next to her.
How long has it been since you've seen it? It sounds like it's been a while.
Oh yeah, it has.
You have it on video or anything?
No, my neighbors wrote on video, but it reappears so often on HBO and stuff that
It's
I,
all,
TBS.
I never really thought to do it. Also, there's so many other interesting films that come around that if you know a film that well, you don't really generally. I mean, it's not as though I'm playing the major role in this thing where I sit down and watch myself act. But I think it's a great movie.